I became
this sober vet.
Don't live, don't live, don't live.
Our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans who are using and abusing substances in a harmful, self-medicating way. All right, welcome 3 times. This is a monumentous occasion. We have reached episode 25, which is going to be the season 1 closer.
All right.
I would like to start with a couple thank yous. First, thank you to our guests for telling all your raw sobriety stories. Thank you for all of our listeners for listening. Thank you to our sponsors for contributing to our mission. And thank you to the anonymous donors because we're truly self-funded. So all your monetary donations keep this mission going. And last but not least, I would like to personally thank one of the greatest NCOs to ever walk this earth. I have reached out to this NCO about a year ago with an off-the-wall idea, and she could have easily been like, you're crazy, click. But she did not. She stepped up to the mission, and she has been riding with me for 25 episodes and will for 2,500 more. So, Dr. T, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you very much because you've been awesome. Your insight, your education, everything you bring to the table is very valued.
Awesome. Joe, I would not have said no to something like this.
That's because you're a good NCO.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You do what
You're
a good
awesome.
NCO does. You said yes, you had your soldiers back, and I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. So we're going to jump right in. I'm super excited about today's guest, and this will be the longest intro I've ever done for a guest, and you'll see why in a minute. So I am proud to call this warrior a friend. Our distinguished This Sober Vet Season 1 closer has quite a colorful resume. Hailing from Chi-Town, this Marine has survived the Triangle of Death in Iraq. He has created multiple comic books, author of Violent But True Bedtime Stories, author of my personal favorite book, The Book of Bang Bang, creator and mastermind behind tabletop RPG game called Omega Project, currently serving as the most well-known veteran-owned apparel company, Grunt Style's chief brand officer and co-owner and co-host of Grunt Style's Worst Show on the Internet series, a father, husband, and friend to many. As if all that wasn't enough for this purebred American legend, he is also the recipient of the VFW Gold Medal of Merit.
All right.
On a personal note, the first time I was ever kicked out of a VA campus was with this man during the filming of Operation Hidden Treasures. Last thing, when they film a story about my life, screw Morgan Freeman, I want this man with his smooth, deep molasses voice to narrate my adventures. He is the one, the only Timothy Jensen.
Outstanding.
Welcome, brother. How are you?
Joe, I'm doing fantastic, and I got to tell you, I don't know who wrote that, but they're good. They're good.
I was up all night.
I'm gonna need you to come work at Grunt Style, Joe.
There you go. There you go. No, I had to lay the red carpet, Tim, because number one, I'm honored to know you for everything you've done and are doing with the veteran community. And again, for that VFW Gold Medal of Merit, dude, tell me about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, first of all, like I have to say, like I've never expected to be doing any of this, from the business to the foundation to the VFW, and all the other things in between. I'm just, I guess, overly blessed to be surrounded by great people that understand what the mission is, and we're all driving in the same direction. I just happen to be the guy that they're putting the medals on. It is certainly the team that is doing all of this. And making some incredible movement within the marketplace for veterans, first responders, law enforcement, anyone that puts on a uniform and is willing to serve, and those that are willing to support them. Those are the people that we're focusing on, and we've built an incredible team over the last 15 years now, but doing that. So I'm quite blessed.
Very well said. So as you know, our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans, and I want to start at the beginning of your story. Would you mind telling us why choose the Marines and what got you started there?
Yeah, sure. When I was young, like everybody else in the 80s. You watched Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and all the shoot 'em up military movies. And I was enamored by that. But it wasn't until my grandfather, I found my grandfather's World War II medals, and really getting an understanding around that really captured my imagination, captured my desires of wanting to serve my country. My grandfather was he was a very quiet and private man, but he was somebody that I really looked up to. And nobody really knew in my family that he was fought in World War II. So
Wow.
me finding that and kind of illuminating the family to it was a bit of a surprise. But then and then when I was coming up to the point of graduating high school, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go out and find a job
Hmm.
because like what am I gonna do? And ended up choosing the Marine Corps. Um, for a lot of different reasons, but mostly, you know, uh, my mother had took me to the wall, the Vietnam Wall, and when I told her I wanted to join the military and be a Marine, and that touched her. And she's a Vietnam era individual, and we went up there. I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time. It was about 6 hour drive up to Washington. We went there for Memorial Day. Got to see 50,000 bikers driving down Pennsylvania Avenue, Vietnam veterans in their cuts and colors, and that was a great sight to see at 17 years old. But it
Mhm.
was really seeing my mother cry as she's copying the names of all the men she went to high school with that never came home that really stuck it for me. I was like, all right, this makes sense. And that solidified my convictions. And the next thing I know, I'm in Paris Island doing the thing and graduate, go to the fleet. Don't really see anything for a period of time for that enlistment. Got out, went back to Chicago. Started my civilian career, as a union carpenter. And September 11th happened, and I'm like, oh my god,
Mm.
I'm not a Marine any longer. So how do I do that? And tried to find my way back into the Marine Corps. Ended up at a reserve station in Chicago. Through the INI station, I got into the reserve unit there, and I was in Iraq in 2004, 2005, and from there, kind of set the story to where I am today. Um, Came home from that. My life spun out of control. Got into drugs, alcohol, infidelity, all sorts of just destructive behaviors.
Mhm.
Mostly because I wanted to die, and I was too afraid to do it myself. I had tried at a point, and from that on, I was just putting myself into these really dangerous positions, hoping that I would get killed. Uh, and it was spent a lot of time bouncing at a bar on the south side, a biker bar that you know uh, got beat up a lot. But I also did. I took that job because uh, I was messed up, man. I couldn't sleep at night.
Ah.
Had a lot of problems. I had a lot of anger,
Mhm.
and I was like, what can I do that it's not going to land me in prison, but I get to get all this frustration out.
Wow.
Found that at a bar and became a bouncer and did that for a long time.
Mhm. Now, would you say, did you start with alcohol and that kind of opened you up to drugs and harder stuff, or what was that journey like?
Um, I've always had a relationship with marijuana, Santa Maria, and things of that nature. Um, and I don't look at marijuana and those things as marijuana specifically as an addictive substance.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't necessarily think that my relationship with marijuana has been bad, even to this day. What I think my relationship with alcohol is destructive. Um, I think it puts me into places that is no good for me, right?
Mhm.
And they call it spirits for a reason, right? Because you're taking in the spirits and you're letting them take you.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's what happened to me for a long period of time. I'm not very proud of the things that I've done over my life. But I think that's part of the healing is to and the learning of it all is to say, you know what, there's some really tough periods in my life. I made some really bad decisions. I might have hurt a lot of people, um, and I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And I will live a life of knowing that I did those things, and I'm and I apologize for those things, and I apologize to a lot of those people. Um,
Yeah.
and I just have to take the next steps forward, knowing that there's a better way, and and if I remove those things from me, I can have better control and over my agency.
So did you start drinking when you entered or exited out of the
Um,
Marine Corps?
I started drinking at a young age.
Okay.
My parents divorced when I was young. My
Mhm.
mom, did her best to, take care of me and my sisters.
Yeah.
And that left me to fill the gap. My father was never around. My mom was always working. I had a
Mhm.
babysitter that came around. I got it when I I went and got a job to pay the babysitter off.
Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Right?
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
from there was my life of, started dealing drugs, started, drinking alcohol, through some of the best parties ever,
Mhm.
that, I probably still talk to about to this day in this
Yeah.
state of North Carolina. But,
Mhm.
um, again, like, it started young. I come from a South Side Chicago family that, hanging out in the bars was lifestyle, right? So it was you know, mixing a lifestyle that I was accustomed to a darkness that I was not accustomed to, and that
Mhm.
set me off into a world of darkness, I guess.
Totally understandable. Would you say there was a moment or a time, not to throw the rock bottom out there, but would you say there was a time where you're like, you know what, like this is enough. I'm way too deep, or was there any kind of aha moment for you when you decided to stop?
Sadly, I'll say this: when it came to the alcohol, there was never a rock bottom, right? Because like you can just keep going and keep going and
Mhm.
keep going,
Mm.
right? Because when you're drinking, there's no decision that's bad enough, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Because you can just keep going, right? Because it's the next drink, it's the next girl, it's the next interaction, it's the next thing that's just going to keep pushing.
Mm.
Um, so when it came to the alcohol, like unfortunately, I didn't know what rock bottom was, and fortunately, I didn't find rock bottom, meaning that I didn't become destitute.
Mhm.
I lost a lot of things. I lost my marriage. I lost, for a period of time, my children, all those things, my house, like
Yeah.
it was gross. But those were all decisions that I made, and I have nobody to blame but myself in that. And I think that was probably the hardest part, was coming to terms with those decisions that I made, and the people that I hurt, both emotionally, physically, you know, in my relationships. It was just bad.
Mm.
Uh, and it really took me coming to sit with psychedelics
Mhm.
to change a lot of those perspectives, and that addiction to the alcohol. Like I remember times when I was in the military getting messed up on the alcohol. I ended up in AA, right? When I drive down to, from Courthouse Bay, Camp Lejeune to Mainside every week, and blow into a breathalyzer, go through the AA classes with sergeant majors and master sergeants and warrant officers, and I'm this little PFC Lance Corporal guy, like,
Uh-huh.
oh man, like I didn't know you guys are drunks too,
Uh-huh.
you
Huh.
know. Um, I look back at those times like, God, man, like I know I was a kid, and and I was just really having experiences. But man, I look back at those time periods and like, man, that wasn't me, man, and I'm not really happy about that. But getting back to that moment of psychedelics and sitting with that medicine, um, I came out of one journey. It was the very first journey that I've ever taken from a medicine side, not a recreational side,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I bit into an apple, and that was the greatest apple that I ever tasted in my life.
Really
And I said to myself that I would never drink, uh, I would never get drunk again,
Mhm.
and I would never smoke a cigarette again. And
nice,
I haven't gotten drunk in over 4 years,
outstanding,
Okay.
outstanding,
and I
Yes.
haven't had a cigarette in the same time period.
dude.
So
Good for you.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Attention veteran entrepreneurs, we've got a special announcement just for you. Marathon Business Advisory Services is proud to present a unique opportunity, a J-Dog franchise, veteran owned and ready for its next chapter. Whether you're looking to own your first business or grow through acquisition, this could be the perfect fit. And the best part, it's completely confidential, with no cost and no obligation to explore the opportunity. Just reach out to Jay Calandra at j.calandra@marathonbas.com to learn more. Support veteran success. Build your future. Let Marathon guide the way. Your episode 25, we've had 24 other sobriety stories, and they were all amazing and raw and all brought their own perspective. This is the first time we're hearing about psychedelics. So can you kind of dive more into that? How'd you hear about it? Where would you go if someone is interested, and like kind of more of what it did to help you?
Yeah, I think psychedelics. As we're all watching in America, is taking front stage again, right? These were modalities that really came into existence in the 50s, the advent of LSD, right? That was a like kind of a mistake, right? Which opened the doors for all these other modalities that have been around for millennia, even longer, right? We're learning, plants like ayahuasca has been around for 5,000-6,000 years and been,
Wow.
Used by tribes, for this period of time,
Right.
and learning from the medicine, getting downloads from the medicine on how to, make different medicines for people in their tribes. It's really fascinating stuff.
Mhm.
And there's all sorts of different modalities from cultures around the world. The ones that you're hearing the most here in the United States are, psilocybin, commonly known as the magic mushroom, getting ayahuasca, which is two plants that are boiled down into a tea. There's the ayahuasca plant and the chacruna plant, or the chacruna vine. And then there is bufo, from the bufo ovarius frog, indigenous to the state of New Mexico. And that's, just expressing like pimples on a frog, and
Really?
taking the venom out and letting the venom dry, and then it becomes a smokable type of vehicle.
Huh.
And then there's yahe, and there's a lot more, right? These are the big ones that you're seeing a lot in North America. Iboga and ibogaine, of course. Texas just passed ibogaine as a research thing. But what's really happening is, these modalities and their compounds and their alkaloids are driving different experiences in the veteran community, and breaking them from their addictions of alcohol, breaking their addictions to SSRIs and psychotropics, and really giving people a fresh start, right? I like to say all the time that the best way of thinking about this is, you're a house. Your house is on the side of a mountain. On that side of the mountain, it snows a lot, right? And you've created these little paths, around your house as you go to your car, your carport, your garage, the fire pit out back, to where you cut logs, to where you walk and get your mail, right? You've created all these little paths in the snow. And then you take a psychedelic, and it's like a snowstorm comes in, and it covers all those behaviors, all those trails, which are considered behaviors, or your neural pathways, right? And a lot of these medicines are creating neuroregenesis, and they're creating, regenerating gray brain matter inside a lot of these, like ayahuasca and ibogaine specifically, psilocybin. We're seeing, through two independent studies of the FDA, that they're breakthroughs on treatment-resistant depression. Latest study that just came out on psilocybin is that administration to some controlled cellular testing is that cell life is extended 50% by exposure to psilocybin,
Wow.
which is the alkaloid that's active in the plant itself. So, we're learning all of these, these modalities are having such incredible mental health, benefits
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
We really need to start looking at these in greater detail, right? When we talk about mental health in America, and mental health within the veteran community, we see some very harrowing stats, right? We see, in the veteran community alone, there's about 9.2 million people in the VHA, Veteran Health Administration. 68% of those people, much like the time of the opioids back in the mid 2000s, 68% of these individuals are on psychotropics.
Wow. Oof.
That's a stat,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But let's take a look at what those stats really are.
Mhm.
We understand that psychotropics and SSRIs and things of these natures they're 3 to 6 week drugs. They're in and outs. They're to address a acute moment in time for an individual that is suffering from anxiety, heavy depression, or insert any other mental ailment that an SSRI would be issued for. Inside the VA, we are noticing that the average life cycle of somebody on a SSRI is 3 to 4 years,
Oh, wow.
right? So we don't know what that is doing to the individual and their in their homeostasis and cellular level, right? We know what it's doing at a 3 to 6 week time period trial because that's what was done in the lab studies, right? We don't know what's happening in the long term of these because they're not studying, long-term effects of 6 years of taking a psychotropic.
Right.
Well, sometimes they lose their effect.
They lose their effect or the person takes their life.
Mhm.
And that's what we're
Mhm.
seeing, right?
Yeah.
Is, you know, Brown University came out with their numbers of 30,188 veterans have taken their life in the last 20 years. I don't know where they're getting that information from. I can tell you that half of the states in the United States right now are not reporting suicides and the reasons for those suicides in the autopsies.
Mhm.
So that number is not an accurate number. What we believe through the studies and the research that we have through our veteran fellow Derek Blumke, who's on our staff with the Grunsal Foundation, is that number is more around 156,000
Wow.
individuals, right?
Jeez.
156,000 of our brothers and sisters
Mhm.
that are afflicted by these medicines, by alcohol, by depression, and they're taking their lives due to this thing.
Yeah.
And we have this plant in many modalities that in almost all circumstances, 85% higher efficacy on dose 1 that can be administered to an individual, and they can be in and out of that dose in less than 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
A high efficacy of 85%, I said, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's about 60 hours worth of treatment with a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah.
And in most cases, that person is walking away saying, I don't need to do any more mushrooms because I don't have the desire to drink.
The desire to drink. Yeah.
That is
That's
amazing.
again, the research
Oof.
does suggest that the psychedelic assisted therapy helps with individuals with treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and addiction when combined with psychotherapy as well. And these therapies, they do aim to promote new perspectives, emotional breakthrough, and greater openness to change. So it is definitely a different way of thinking when we're talking about this particular modality here. And they're not given casually in therapy. They're administered, right, in a highly structured, supervised
Yeah,
session.
and it's really important that Dr. T, that you mentioned
Mhm.
that, right? Because um,
Yeah.
with this medicine, right, you have recreational users that are out there, using psilocybin, using MDMA, using ketamine as a party drug.
Mhm.
Um, we're not talking about those stuff, right?
Right.
Those are like small dose party type of things, right? The things that we're talking about are hero doses,
Right.
administered in a container
Yep.
that is safe and observed by medical and spiritual practitioners,
Right.
period, right?
Mhm.
And you're gonna go on an anywhere between an 18 to a 10-hour journey internally and with yourself, and you're going to have some profound moments of, illumination, of, trauma,
Mhm.
reliving, um you know, we like to say you're either gonna have, uh, you're gonna have a night at the church, a night at the hospital, or a night in school. Those are the three things you're going to get from psychedelics. The three experiences that you will get. So you'll have one of those three uh, types of moments, but they are all declarative. Like you will come out of this thing um, with far more clarity, far more calmness in your thoughts. One thing I love about psilocybin and ayahuasca is that for me, I have a very active and overactive imagination and overactive mind that never shuts up and is constantly talking. Probably
Mhm.
a reason why I would drink a lot is to bring down the internal dialogue and internal voices.
Mhm.
Certainly why I have a great relationship with cannabis or Santa Maria, because it helps me focus and it certainly brings all that down. But when I have those moments and I sit with the bigger plants, it wipes all that away. I can go 6 months without having you know a million voices in my head telling me all the things that are wrong with me or whatever. But I get 6 months of peace and calm, and I'm like, wow, like this is what the world is. Wow, it's so colorful. This is great.
Yeah, that is great. Now, for certain individuals, though, in certain conditions like psychosis and bipolar disorder, use of the psychedelics may actually worsen your symptoms. So you definitely want to be able
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, it's,
you
we don't
know
step into these things recklessly, right?
right.
So
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you are taking psychotropics or, antidepressants, you gotta get off that medicine first. You gotta wean yourself off, with a doctor, with the assistance of a doctor, right? Because that's another
Mhm.
thing that we're learning with, the foundation
Yeah.
is that, we're quick to administer these drugs and these psychotropics, but there is no program. There is no facility here in the United States that says, "We'll help you get off this medicine." It's people say they're trying to figure it out themselves, cutting
Mm.
10% off of their medicine with a razor blade,
Trying to titrate down. Yeah, them saying. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Wow.
That is extraordinarily dangerous, right? So, when we have those conversations with people, we have enlisted the help of some great experts on titration
Mhm.
that we point those people to and say, "Hey, talk to this person. They'll get you in the right place. When you're ready, when that's has been met, then we can introduce you to the medicine."
Perfect.
But we will never ever take someone into the things that we do unscreened.
Yeah.
You know, it,
Absolutely.
it's it's not what this medicine and this work is about, right? It's about
Mhm.
helping and healing people and getting them into a right frame of mind.
Are you enjoying these stories of veterans totally rocking it with sobriety? Here at This Sober Vet podcast, we want to keep bringing these warriors' tales of triumphs to you. However, we need your help to make that happen. We're in need of sponsors for This Sober Vet podcast. That's right, now's the time to show your support, advertise your brand, or just make a monetary donation. It's easy. Just go to our website, www.thissobervet.com. To become a sponsor, fill out the form on our contact page. To donate, just click on Support the Mission. Let's keep shining a light for those still in the dark. This is a lot. So I'm trying to digest everything that just happened because to me, this almost seems like a miracle drug with what the capabilities are. So if I'm a listener and I'm like, I have a drinking problem, yeah, I may be on some pills. What is step one for me to even entertain this as an option to the layman that knows nothing about it?
Yeah, well, it's education, right? There is a ton of books and literature out there on psychedelics. There's great groups that you can find on social media within the veteran space that are trustworthy, that are doing great work. Heroic Hearts Project is one of those groups. Jesse Gold, he's a former ranger, and he's putting people into the medicine here in the United States and overseas, in Mexico and other places. The Mission Within, another great group that's doing this. Grunstyle Foundation does this through our grant work. We send people down to um, Central America to a group of individuals that we become very close with. Carlos Duran is the individual that runs that. And we send veterans there throughout the years. They come to us. Uh,
Mhm.
so, you know, so research one, look for great groups that are doing it. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube, that speak to this stuff. And then reach out to people that are the faces, of these things. What I have come to learn about the psychedelic community, especially the veteran psychedelic community, is that if you reach out to me or anybody, you're going to get a response. Like, no, everybody is in the right place, doing the right thing to get people into healing, right?
Mhm.
There's no ego, and that's the beauty of this. Is like, I see ego all around the veteran space, all around the civilian space, but there seems to be little to zero ego happening in the medicine space, because the medicine, I think, rips it out of you.
Nice. I think a lot of us need
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
My first journey using ayahuasca, participating with ayahuasca, I had to hear my ego death. You can look back, a couple years and see the big bearded Tim with the shaved head. Not these days, right? I'm a bit more, back to the man I was before I joined the Marine Corps, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's what the medicine did for me. It reset me back into, not the Tim that was the Marine, not the Tim that died in the desert of Iraq, not the Tim that came back as an addicted and afflicted individual trying to survive.
Yeah.
It brought me back to 17-year-old Tim Jensen that was just a kid that had big dreams and a
Mhm.
great imagination and just liked having fun. And that's where I find myself today as a 47-year-old teenager.
Uh, and that's a beautiful thing. I love that. And do you think that has helped you like do the RPG, be an author, do all these side projects that you're totally crushing? Do you think that had a hand in that?
Um, I think so. I think it gave me just the confidence, right? To just do it, man. Like you get
Mhm.
one we get one chance on this freaking mud ball, man. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and think about what I coulda, shoulda, woulda done, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's what the medicine gave me. It's like, you know, life is an incredible thing, right? We navigate this space, in this experience, with all these negative energies and inputs, and everywhere you go, people are constantly trying to push you down and tell you you're not good enough, or you're not bright enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're just not enough.
Mhm.
And that weighs on a person, right? You may not feel it. You could probably you're probably listen someone's probably listening to this right now and be like, not me. I'm good. No, life
Mhm.
has a way of beating you down, and you just don't know it.
Mhm.
With that comes a lot of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, paranoia. Your brain will start filling in all of those blank spots with just nonsense. And I think what the medicine did for me was it said, you know what, Tim, you're good enough. You can do anything that you want.
Mhm.
You don't need permission. You don't need validation. And, you just do it, man. And
Right.
that's what I've been doing. It's just getting after it, um, and going after the stuff that I looked at years before and said, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're truly an inspiration for what you do. I mean, that's not just coming from me. That's coming from the masses that all have their eyes on you and like your level of confidence, how you carry yourself. Like you really are an inspiration. I'm so glad we were able to have you on the podcast. Like this was huge.
Yes.
Literally in the beginning. Do you remember I reached out to you and I was like, dude, I'm starting a new mission and I want you to be the season one closer. I reached out to you like when I recorded episode one.
Yeah, I've been watching your progress, man, and from your times at J Dog to what you're doing now, making impacts on people's lives
Yeah.
in both facets. Like, Joe, you're doing the work, man,
Absolutely.
and you're bringing
Appreciate that.
you're bringing people hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's huge.
That's all we can do, right? Is we don't have much control in our lives over a lot of things, right? But what
Mhm.
we can control is the way that we show up and how we treat other people. Uh,
Right.
and I think Joe and Dr. T, what you guys got going on here is, is something for not everybody, but it's
Yeah.
there's people out there right now that are listening and saying, God, these people help me.
Absolutely. That is what
Yeah. Well, I
matters.
appreciate that. And if you could, we like to end every episode by just a little piece of advice. So if there is someone on the fence, they've listened to 25 episodes and they're like, the bottle's in their hand and they're like, do I open this or not? Like, what would you tell that person to get them to not open that bottle?
I would say pick up a hobby.
Uh-huh.
I think drinking is you're filling a void. You're filling something that could be filled with something beautiful, right? Something that you can create. And the one thing I've learned over the years is that as humans, we have this very unique thing. It's called imagination. And that imagination likes to run wild. And that imagination likes to create things. So do these. And when these are idle, they start filling with other things. So fill them with something that you can create. Make something. Don't destroy something, because that's all alcohol does, is destroy. We are humans, we're creators. And let's create beauty. Let's not destroy the world around us. I'm Tim Jensen, and that's how I became this sober vet.